let's take a look at a couple of different options for expanding your library of lenses. So these different lenses are all, they kind of represent a different class, a different type of lens. And we'll look at each one and talk about the situations that you might want to use that particular lens in. It's great to have a diverse library of lenses that kind of represent different areas and focal lengths that you can use that are for specific situations. So let's talk about prime lenses. A prime lens, or a fixed focal length lens, is exactly what it sounds like. It is fixed at that particular focus distance. So this is an 85 millimeter lens. This lens does not zoom in and out. It is fixed at 85 millimeters. It will always be 85 millimeters. I can't get closer with it unless I physically walk up to you and get closer. Now, there's some pros and cons to that. Obviously, the convenience of a zoom lens that goes in and out helps you frame shots a little easier without you having to physically move around. But this lens is an amazing piece of glass. Prime lenses, fixed focal length lenses, can often be phenomenal pieces of glass with no distortion, super tack sharp, really great artistic things to work with. And sometimes shooting with a prime lens can force you to be a little more creative than you would have been. You know, not every shot needs to be framed exactly perfectly zoomed to the max or that kind of thing. So sometimes you can use a prime lens, and the inconvenience of being able to not being able to zoom can actually force you to take some pretty outstanding, interesting shots. Also, when you start getting into zoom lenses, you're adding more optical elements. They're putting more and more pieces of glass in between the front and the back part of the lens. And those optical elements can add distortion. They can make the lens a little less sharp. They can add vignetting. So unless it's a really expensive, high-quality zoom lens, typically your prime lenses are going to be a little bit better. You'll get some better results. So, all right, well, we were talking a little bit about the zoom or telephoto lenses, and this one goes from 24 to 70, so it can go as wide as 24 millimeters, or you can zoom up as close as 70 with this lens. So it covers, not too great a distance, and it's a very, very good quality lens. This is what I like call a normal lens or a walk-around lens. I leave it on the camera 85% of the time, and when I'm just walking around, 24 to 70 can kind of get me as close as I need to be to just about any subject I can see that's not super far away. So that's the convenience of the zoom. If you're going to get a zoom lens, it's good to get a high quality one so that you know you won't start to introduce that stuff we talked about, distortion, vignetting, and things like that. Okay, so we got a couple of zooms. We got a fisheye here. The fisheye is that rounded one that we showed you a couple of tutorials ago. And the fisheye lens is specifically for the fisheye effect. It is super, super wide angle, and it's rounded at the edges, so it actually introduces distortion on purpose, and you can get a really great effect with that. If you don't like the fisheye effect, you can actually run a plugin in Photoshop or Aperture that will de-fisheye and kind of pin cushion the sides in and just make it into a super duper wide angle lens. So that's a pretty cool effect. This prime lens here is a Pancake lens. These are becoming popular now. They're really, really small, compact prime lenses. So probably, obviously not as good as the nice, massive piece of glass sitting next to it, but extremely convenient and, pretty good optical quality since it doesn't have to zoom. And then you've got lots of other little different classes. You've got tilt-shift lenses, which are a lot of people use in architecture. They require a very specific point of focus, and they can blur out a lot of things, even just, right next to them. You've got these electronic zoom lenses that they don't zoom in even physically with your hand. You have to use electronics on them, so they're made for like mirrorless or point-and-shoot cameras. And, you've got other telephotos and other things that are being developed. But these are the main kind of classes of lenses that you can dive into and start experimenting with and expanding your library with. Again, any one of these can be used for a different situation. So no one of them is like, this lens is better than that lens. They're all different tools for different situations, and you should get to know how to use them all.